Okay, so tonight we're going to start a new series on Chassidus in the Parsha, and that is the Tzadok, okay, the holy Reb Tzadok HaKohen Milublin. And so he's very unique. He's very different than anything we've learned until now. He's very, very long essays, very, very complicated essays. He's so words that no idea. He has so many books. They were too great to probably has like 20,000 books. And besides the fact that every Parsha even without hearing words, tons and tons of Torah going on. I get what you're saying out here, and he was amazing on Chacham. That is refining. We have a class on his biography. This is how we're doing the Jewish era. So we'll have to check exactly when. And so we're going to be going through his teaching on the Parshat. So it starts with Parshat Pinchas, and Parshat Pinchas starts with an interesting thing. It talks about this story that Pinchas, he was a big hero, and he took a spear, and he saw something that should not be done, and he saw that Zimri and Kazbi were doing an avera, and they were making a big chiloshem, and they were doing, it was avodah zarah, and it was intermarriage, and it was mamish horrible things. And everybody was just quiet, and everybody didn't know what to do, and so he remembered that there's the halacha, and this is something called the halacha l'Moshe Misinai. That's not written in the Torah, but there is an oral tradition that that if you see a person in the middle of doing an act with a non-Jew, so a person who's a kanai is allowed to just kill him. Okay, so this is an oral tradition that's not written down in the Torah, and it says that the person is not just able to, but he's obligated to stand up and do something. Okay, so Moshe Rabbeinu forgot this halacha. Moshe Rabbeinu, he didn't know what to do, and he saw, and he was just like dumbfounded, and he was like silenced, and he was like didn't know what to do, and then Pinchas said, Rabbeinu, didn't you teach us that and he says, yeah, go for it. And so and it says that there were 10 miracles that happened, and Pinchas went, and he did it, and he succeeded, and after he did it, you would think that he would be a national hero, and this happens a lot, that the people that do the best things, so then they get backlash, and the people are like talking against them. And so Rashi brings the beginning of the sixth parsha that Shahayu Shvatim Mevazin Oisai, that the Jewish people, after he did this, that they were belittling him, and they were insulting him, and they were saying Re'item Ben Puti Zeh, that have you seen this Ben Puti? Why is it Ben Puti? Because Shapitim Avi Imai Agalim Lavodah Zarah, because he was from the descendants of Yisro. He married one of Yisro's daughters, and Va'akasav Yichsai V'harag Shevet B'Yisrael. Now he comes from bad lineage. He comes from Yisro. There was an Avodah Zarah, and now he killed a Nasi. He killed the prince of Shevet Shimon, and so that's why, because the people were making fun of him. So that's why. So what does that mean? So at the beginning of the parasha it says Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen Heshiv Esh Chamasi. So why? Usually when we talk about a person's lineage, we say what his father is. Over here, so the Torah says his father and his grandfather. Who's his grandfather? Aaron HaKohen. So why is the pasuk do something abnormal to go 2 generations back? So Aaron, to show you that he comes from good lineage. He doesn't come from bad lineage. You think he comes from bad lineage because he comes from Yisrael, there's Avodah Zarah, and he really comes from good lineage. Okay, so this is it's a very strange Rashi. It's a very strange midrash. First of all, Yisrael, it's true that he was once Avodah Zarah, but he actually converted. He actually became a big tzaddik. He actually, we never heard of such a thing, that he's considered a bad guy because he once had a past life that he was doing Avodah Zarah. So why should why should suddenly he be held accountable that this is a bad thing that you come from Israel? Also, the Jewish people, everybody comes from bad people. Abraham comes from Avodah Zarah. All of the Imayis, their father was Avodah Zarah. Rivka, his father was Besua. Everybody, what's special about the Vihar, that if you come from bad lineage, then suddenly they're going to make fun of you. Okay, but it's not a thing. We all come from the same stuff, and we don't make fun of people. It doesn't matter where you come from. So what's this? And also what's it help? Okay, so he also comes from Aaron. Okay, so why is that a reason that they're going to stop making fun of him? So he says something very, very beautiful. So this halacha that Habayel Olam is Kanayim Pagan by, that so the truth is that it's not for everybody to do. When it says Kanayim Pagan by, it means that the only person who's really allowed to go up and take an action, who is allowed to be a kanai? It's not easy to be a kanai. You think to be a kanai that just because you like sitting down in the middle of the street to make a protest, just because you like when they throw that disgusting goash on you, and then you're, what I'm talking about, the protests, but they have this disgusting smelling, the whole Tachta Merkazit area smells like disgusting for the next 2 days, and so that's what it's that you think that's enough to be a kanai. You think to be a kanai means that you're ready to. I mean, I've seen crazy things. I've seen people that sit next to a bus and as if run me over, crazy, and so you think that's what it takes to be a kanai. So the Torah says no. That to be a kanai, the only way to be a kanai is that when you see something that is evil, you cannot stand it. And you are so zealous for the Ratzon Hashem that when you see something which is against Hashem's will, your blood is boiling. Okay? We're not talking about people that like action. We're not talking about people that they're bored, so they go for a good protest. I told you the joke of Shalosh Vadran. So he asked, it says by Rivka that she was confused. So because she was pregnant, and the baby, when she passed by a beis medrash, so he would kick, and when she passed by Avodah Zarah, so he would kick. So she was confused. What's he want? He wants good. He wants bad. He wants everything. He's confused. So she went to the Navi and he said, you have twins. Shnei goyim bevitnech. It's all good. So the Shalosh Vadran asked, I don't understand. What was their kasha? What's so confusing? What's so confusing? When he went to beis medrash, he was kicking because he wants to learn. And went to Avodah Zarah, he's kicking because he's doing a protest. So you see from here that the people that go to beis medrash, they don't go to protests. The same guy. So the protest. To be a kanai, to be a zealot. To be a zealot means that you have to be l'shem shamayim. If there's anything about your protest that you just enjoy having action, you like the feeling of being a hero, then you're not allowed to be a kanai. Not only that, but if you would pretend you're a kanai when you're not a kanai, so you know what you really are? You're a murderer. You're a murderer. If you're going to pretend you're a kanai and you say, I cannot stand for this. This person needs to be gone. But this halacha, that's true, that if you're a real kanai, then you're allowed to kill him. But that's only if you're a real kanai. So if you wouldn't be on the same spiritual level that your blood is actually boiling because you cannot stand seeing evil, and you're going to do it just because, I have a license. It's a shame. I haven't practiced shooting in a long time. And here we go. A guy's hanging out with a non-Jewish girl. So, yalla, time for a target practice. And so that's called murder. That's called my rabbi said that if you're a kanai, that's called murder. That's called murder. So now let's get back to what they were saying. So the people noticed. The people knew that he was from lineage of Yisrael. Okay. Now Yisrael. So it says he was the Kohen Midian. He's the Kohen Midian, and the Zohar says that the word Midian is connected to the word Midinim. Okay. Midinim means fights. Okay, like dinim is like judgment. So midinim is fights. So they knew that Midian had a spiritual connection to being up to fights, getting into battles, and so they thought that look what he did. Look what he did. He went and he killed somebody. He saw that something wasn't good, so he took action and he shot him and he speared him, and so. But what's the chances? What's the chances that he was really doing l'shem shamayim? He was Look, he comes from Midian. He comes from Midian. So he has in his DNA that he just likes action. He likes making fights. So chances are that he's actually a murderer. Chances are that when he was doing this, he was doing it with the wrong intention. If he's doing it with the wrong intention, so then he's actually a murderer. He's not a kanai. So that's why the Torah says that Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron a Kohen, that Hashem says, I can give testimony that when he was doing this, he was doing it with the DNA of Aaron a Kohen. Aaron a Kohen was Ohev Shalom v'Rodef Shalom. Aaron was Midat HaChesed, which is the opposite of fights. That there wasn't one ounce of a desire for fights over here. It was completely for a desire of peace. It was completely for a desire of kindness. And he knew that the only way that they could have true peace is if this Chil Hashem is destroyed from us. So the truth is that the Torah was attesting to the fact that he was doing this with the purest intentions, and that's why that's why I give him a covenant of peace. Give him a covenant of peace. That not only he's not going to get the kanaya word. He's going to get the love and peace award. Okay, the guy who kills, he's going to get the love and peace award because he understands that really this is what we need for peace. Really, he loves peace. He searches for peace. He doesn't like having arguments. There's people that they live for fights. It gives them excitement. It gives them that like hack. It's a Yiddish word. They like the hack. They like the they like the fact that someone is always doing something wrong. Somebody is always the bad guy, and they love making fights against them. So Pinchas had none of that. Pinchas was Ohev Shalom v'Rodef Shalom, and even though he was Ohev Shalom v'Rodef Shalom, he knew that these are the things that are messing up the peace. This is the enemy. This is the thing that we can only have peace if this guy is eliminated. Okay, so that's what the Torah was saying. Okay, so now the truth is that it's a little bit deeper than that. And he brings an interesting Zohar. The Zohar says that when we got the Torah, so we said Nasev and Ishma. We said to the Torah and Shavuos, we said Nasev and Ishma, and it says that in the schut of saying Nasev and Ishma, so we got crowns, got special crowns. Okay, one crown keneged Naaseh, one crown keneged Nishma. Okay. I once heard that there's a spiritual explanation of these two crowns that there's I never saw this written down, but I've heard that there's this Hasidic idea to have two head coverings. You ever heard this? Mm-hmm. That to have also a kippah and also a hat, or also so what's the, I don't know if it's a real thing at all. I certainly don't do it. But what's the idea? Like some people claim that like if your kippah itself has two layers, that's called like the lining is called. I don't know. So what's the idea? What's the idea? Because it says that there's 5 parts of your neshama. Nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida. So what's the difference between the two, between the nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida? Nefesh, ruach, neshama is inside, and chaya, yechida is something called makifim. It's something that surrounds you. It's surrounding light. Okay, so the chaya, yechida of your soul is what separates a Jew from a non-Jew. That having a chaya yechida, and so we have these two crowns, so to speak, is these two special parts of our soul, which is surrounding us, our kippah, our kippat chaya, kippat yechida. Is that so? This is a surrounding light, which is hovering over us, giving us kedusha. Okay, so that's the spiritual explanation of what it means. These two crowns. So why? So where do we get these crowns? These crowns of Nasev and Ishma. So the Zohar says that the first crown for Nasev, we got this from Esav. The first Hashem says that Hashem went to Esav and he asked Esav, "Do you want the Torah?" And Esav said, "What does it say in it?" What does it say in it? And so he says, don't kill. So he says Esav, and Esav didn't want it. So Esav, what was his power? It says Hayadayim Yidei Esav. Esav's power is in his hands. That's why he was into murder. He was into aggression. He was into force. So Esav's thing was his hands. And so what do you do with your hands? You do things. You do na'aseh, asiyah. Asiyah is with your hands. So Esav and his power of na'aseh, he threw it away. He didn't want the Torah. And so we took his na'aseh, his koach yadayim, and we converted it to Judaism. We made it part of the Kedusha. And when we made it part of the Kedusha, so then we got the crown of na'aseh. Yishmael, so their koach is shmi'ah. Yishmael. The Hashem should hear. They have a koach of shmi'ah. They were offered the Torah and they refused the Torah. And so when we took it, we didn't just take the Torah, we took the koach of Yishmael and we converted their koach of shmi'ah into something holy. And that's what we got, the crown of Nishma. Okay, that's the Zohar. That's how the Zohar explains the crowns of Nasav and Nishma. So what is this? So what does this mean? So the Gemara in Sanhedrin says that there's a prophecy that it's actually the shortest book in the entire Tanakh is Ovadia. Ovadia. My mother told me that when she was in college, she had to do a paper on one of the Sfarim of Tanakh. So she picked Ovadia because it's the shortest sefer in the entire Tanakh. So I guess it's in my DNA to look for how to do things in an easy way. So Ovadia, it says, what was Ovadia's prophecy? What was Ovadia's prophecy? His prophecy was against Esav. So why is Ovadia's prophecy against Esav? So the Gemara in Sanhedrin says because he was a Ger Adomi, because he was actually a convert from the family of Edom, and so Hashem says that that comes from the nation of Edom. So he's the one that should give the prophecy against him. And similarly, so David HaMelech, so he's the one that fought against Moab. Why is he the one that fought against Moab? Because he comes from Ut, who comes from Moab, and so because he comes from Moab, so that's why he's the one that should go fight against it. So we see from the Gemara, what's the idea? That when you have something in your blood, so there's negative, there's somewhat of a negative trait in you, but sometimes when you become holy, so it stays in you, this negativity backwards. It stays in you that you have this element of negativity in the sense that you have a super sensitivity towards it. You have a super sensitivity towards this thing because it's what you came from. It's you get the chills. You get the chills. There's people that were on the other side. So that's the thing that triggers them the most, right? So the thing that triggered Ovadia was the essence of Edom. That's what triggered him because he ran away from that. Okay, the thing that triggered David was Moab because he ran away from that, and so this is the idea. This is what it means to convert a negative midah, to get a crown, to turn this negative midah into a crown. So that is what Pinchas was doing. So really, that the truth is that they were actually right. That there was something in Pinchas. There was something about the fact that his grandfather was from Midian, and not only that what do we know about Yitro? That he was the biggest Avodah Zarah. Before he came to Judaism, he tried every single idolatry in the world. He says, Atu yadati, ki gadol Hashem mikal Elohim. But now I know that Hashem is greater than any other God. So Chazal say that, how did he know? Because he actually tried every other God. Once I had a student in Machon Meir that it was so obnoxious. He said to me, Rabbi, that I went through every single religion in the world, and I'm telling you, Judaism is actually where it's at. I proved them all wrong in Judaism. All right. I'm happy we have your approval. Also God says to be Jewish, and also you say to be Jewish. You're so cute. So So Yitro said, so he knew every Avodah Zarah. So he was very, very entrenched in Avodah Zarah. So when he saw this, when Pinchas, who has this in his DNA, this Avodah Zarah energy, so when he comes to see Avodah Zarah, with what was the daughters of Midian, what were they doing? So it was also a sexual immorality thing. It was also a prostitution thing, but it didn't stop there. Their point was actually Baal Peor. The point of the prostitution was to get them to be Avodah Zarah, and he saw through this. He saw that the purpose over here of Benot Midian was actually Avodah Zarah. And so that's why when he saw this, and he was coming from Avodah Zarah, he had in his DNA. There's a word for this, generational trauma. That's what it's called, generational trauma. He had a generational trauma from Avodah Zarah. Okay, that he had even though it was 2 generations before, but he had in his blood that when I see Avodah Zarah, I just and so that because he had this, so he was able to convert this negative quality and make it that this is his superpower. Okay. So the truth is that's what it means, that you can turn it into a crown. You can turn your disability into a superpower, and that's mamish what he was doing. Okay, so now he connects this with a very, very interesting idea, that it says when it writes the name of Pinchas, So it writes Pinchas with a yud, which is an interesting way of writing Pinchas. Pei yud nun chet samach, but the yud is a small yud. It's a yud zeira. Zeira means small. Okay, so the Zohar wants to explain what is the idea. How come in the Torah the name Pinchas is written with a small yud? Either with a yud or without a yud. What's the idea of having a small yud? So the Zohar writes, what?
Just that's how I wrote it.
Which way, with or without?
I wrote it very small because I wasn't sure.
So you're neshamanu. So what's this yud? What's this yud zeira? What's this small yud? So the small yud. So the Zohar says that yud represents chokhmah. Yeah, yud is it says in Rashi, yud Hashem hamachshava. The yud always represents chokhmah. We have this one of the classes, one of the month classes is yud. We talk about this, and so the Zohar says that there's two kinds of chokhmah. There's chokhmah ila'ah and chokhmah tata. There's the higher chokhmah, and there's the higher chokhmah, the lower chokhmah. So the higher chokhmah, that's Torah shebechtav, and the lower chokhmah, that's Torah sheba'al peh. That's Torah sheba'al peh. So in the Torah shebechtav, there is no such thing as the. In Torah shebechtav, there's no such thing as you see somebody sleeping with a non-Jew and you go murder him. There is no such thing. In the world of chokhmah ila'ah, so such a thing is called murder. That's called that you have anger issues. That means that you need to be locked up. Okay, and
it's not a death penalty. It's not a sin that's a death
No,
penalty.
it's not. It's not. That's the thing. That it's a halacha l'moshe misinai, which means that it's only part of Torah sheba'al peh, which means that it's only something that shows up from people. That from Torah sheba'al peh represents the chokhmah tata'ah, the lower chokhmah, which means the chokhmah that comes from human beings, and that's why it needs to come from you. That's why that, like we said before, that if you're doing it because you read in a book that this is what you're supposed to do, then you're a murderer. You're only allowed to do it if it's coming from within. You're only allowed to do it if it's coming that I cannot stand to see that this wrong is being done, that this evil is being done. I can't stand for it. It needs to be eradicated. Okay, so that's what it means that he was the master of Chochmat Tata. That he was the master of Chochmat Tata. So what does it mean? That he was able to lower down that to take this Chochmah of that something coming from below, to take this objectively negative trait of machloket, of midinim, and to convert it into something which is something holy. So that was the Chochmat Tata that he had. That's why it's written with the Yud, and this is why, and that's why the next parsha after the story of Pinchas is the story of Yerushat Eretz Yisrael. Is the halacha of how to distribute, how to separate and inherit the land of Israel to the people, because it's all about giving the land of Israel is all about living Chochmat Tata, of living this lower wisdom, meaning the wisdom that comes from below, meaning the Torah Sheba'al Peh. Okay, so because Pinchas was the hero, he was the champion of Torah Sheba'al Peh, he was the champion of feeling the Torah in his veins, and so because he was the champion of Torah Sheba'al Peh, so that is actually expressed the most in the land of Israel, because land of Israel is all about bringing it down into the physical world to the point that I'm living Judaism. I'm not just reading about it, I'm not just studying it, to actually make it physical. Make it that the Torah is part of me. That's the essence of Torah Sheba'al Peh. Torah Sheba'al Peh is that a Torah sage becomes a Torah scroll. The Torah sage, that the Torah is speaking through the human being. That's what it means, Torah Sheba'al Peh. It means that the Torah is being expressed through human beings. So that's what it means. That when you have a Torah Sheba'al Peh, when you have a person that is just permeated with Kedusha, so then he's able to bring out the chokhmah that's coming from these lower places, and he's able to convert, and he's able to bring it into kedusha. And that's what Pinchas was able to do. Okay, so this is the first Torah. This is the first Torah that Tzadok gives in the Parshat, and it's a very meaningful Torah for many things. First of all, the idea, the mere idea that the same action can be done. For one person, it's a sin. For one person, it's a mitzvah. That where you're coming from, your intention makes all the difference. Like the very same act can be a holy act or a very unholy act, and it really depends what your intentions are. I think that's a very it's a very sobering thought. That we can never say, well, he does it, so I can do it too. When he does it, something very beautiful, and when you do it, it's something very arrogant. It's very just unbecoming. It's very really that a lot of things that it really depends. It really depends where it's coming from. That's one very deep takeaway, and the second takeaway is that this idea that we're able to convert our negative traits into superpowers, and to never think that it's a shame that I come from such garbage that I need to just choke it, I need to extinguish it, that every negative trait can be converted into a springboard for kedusha. That he was able to take this negative trait, this trait of machloket, and he was able to express it, to channel it to a very, very holy place, and it's like, somebody was saying that there's a difference between, I don't know if this is accurate, the difference between karate and judo. That in karate, so when you hit me, when you attack me, so I block you. In judo, so when you attack me, I use your force against you. Yeah, am I saying it right? So that's what the Torah is saying over here is that when this negative force is coming inside of me, so the Torah is saying to be a judo guy, okay, to be able to take this negative force and turn it into a superpower, Turn it into that yes, I'm coming from Avodah Zarah, so I'm the most sensitive to Avodah Zarah, so I can be the world's expert in finding Avodah Zarah, and to see that this is that, like, you have all these people that come from that they're in different kinds of recovery, different kinds of like troubles, and different kinds of like different situations that they're through, and instead of just someone just blocking, so that makes they turn that into their superpower, and like it's really. That's really what Pinchas did, and he took his negativity and made it into something very beautiful. Okay, so this is what Pinchas is telling us. All right. So later in the parsha, at the end of the parsha, so Pinchas is a very long parsha actually, and the truth is there's a lot of times during the year that we read from the parshas of Pinchas, because what do we have at the end of Pinchas? We have all of the Musafim. We have the Parsha of Tamid, with the Parsha of the Musafim, all the Karbanot, lots and lots of sacrifices. So that's why we have a lot of, that's why every Yantiv, so we read from Parshat Pinchas, every Rosh Chodesh, we read from Parshat Pinchas, every, it's always we read from it in the Tfilas Musaf, it's always all the Musafim, so all these extra offerings, so they're all spoken about. So an interesting point that he talks about is that when it talks about Shabbat has a carbon musaf, but it's different than every other time that we bring a carbon musaf. Okay, what's the difference? So every musaf, usually we have a whole smorgasbord of different animals. That we have the Hi Hashem, would you like a cow today? Would you like a ram today? Would you like a sheep? Would you like a goat? Usually we give him a whole. What are you in the mood for now? Like we give him a whole array, a whole array of different animals. And on Shabbos it's not like that. On Shabbos, as there's out of the 4 animals, so we only have one. We only have sheep. Okay. There's no par, there's no ayil, and there's no izim. There's no goats. Okay. There's only sheep. So what's the idea? So he says like this, that first of all, Se'ir Yizim, in all of the Karbanot, so Se'ir Yizim is always a sin offering. It's always a Karban Chatat. So on Shabbat there is no Karban Chatat. Why is there no Karban Chatat? Because on Shabbat, so there is no room for sin. On Shabbat, so everything is simply perfect. And Shabbat, we return to a state of perfection, and there's an idea that it says that Yehei be'einacha, it should be in your eyes, ki'ilu kol melachtacha asuya, like all of your work is done. All your work is done. So that means that it even means your spiritual work. It means that there is no room. We don't do tshuva. We're not beating ourselves up on our past. On Shabbat, we have reached perfection. Okay? We're imagining ourselves in a state of perfection. There's no room for kabbalah chatat. There's no room for like talking about our negative parts, that they simply don't exist. And Shabbat, Hashem just elevates us to a state of perfection. We can jump, we can just latch on to this higher self, to this higher level of existence, and there is no room for chatat. Okay, so that's why there's no chatat. That's why there's no goats. But why isn't there parva ayil? Why isn't there the cows and the rams? It comes to the rams. So he says a very amazing thing. It says in the Midrash that par is corresponding to Avraham, because Avraham, when he brought his guests to eat, so what did he bring them? He brought them lashon shel bakar. He gave them the tongue from that par ben bakar. So par symbolizes Avraham. Ayil, a ram, represents Yitzchak, because at the story of the binding of Isaac, at Akedat Yitzchak, so instead of giving the sacrifice Yitzchak, he gave the sacrifice the ram. So the ram is representing Yitzchak, and the sheep that represents Yaakov. So on all the Chagim, on all the Yom Tovim. So what's the difference? What's the difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov? So the Gemara says the difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov is that Shabbat, Hashem brings the Kedusha down, and Chagim, so we create the Kedusha. Okay, so in all the Chagim, so we need to tap into the energy of Avraham. We need to tap into the energy of Yaakov, of Yitzchak. We need to say, we have to make sure that we are following in our father's footsteps. Okay, but on Shabbat, so it's all about Yaakov. Yaakov is the son. Yaakov is the perfection. Yaakov is the perfected product from which all of Klal Yisrael comes, and that's why there's a special connection between Yaakov and Shabbos. It says that Yaakov tikein tchum Shabbos. It says that kol hama'anik as Shabbos zochel nachlas Yaakov nachala b'li mitzarim. That person who makes sure to really enjoy Shabbos, so he's zocher to the nachla of Yaakov, and it's something beyond, without borders, without any constraints. So Yaakov is connected to Shabbos because he's the product. He's the one that he got it. He got the kedusha. Avraham means like they created the kedusha, and Yaakov received the kedusha. So that's why on Shabbats we don't have parva ayil. We don't need to tap into. We're not doing this. It's happening to us. Okay, so this is a very new look on Shabbos. Okay, the Shabbos is not about doing. Shabbos is about receiving. Shabbos is about. That's why we don't do. That's why it's about we stopped acting. We stopped creating. We're just being passive. We're just receiving. We're just being, and this is the energy of Shabbos, and that's why the Shabbos, the Kedusha of Shabbos is something that happens to us. Okay? So this is something to think about. There's something to really be conscious of every Shabbos, that on Shabbos, so we don't. It's not about doing. It's about just letting it happen to us. That Yontiv needs work. Yontiv, you have to build a sukkah. Yontif, you have to clean your house for Pesach. You have to learn the whole Shavuot. It's about doing stuff, and Shabbos, and a person could think that I didn't do it good enough, so I didn't make it. And Shabbos, you let Shabbos happen to you. You just make yourself a vessel. Just let Shabbos come through you, and that's how we do it. All right, the last point that I want to speak about very quickly is that he speaks about the Haftarahs that starting this week. Tomorrow night is Shavasar B'Tammuz, and so this week, the Shabbos begins the three Shabboses called the 3 weeks, and we have a special name called the Gimel de Paranuta, that these 3 Haftarot of punishment, of destruction, and so we have 3 weeks of Paranuta, 3 negative Haftaras, and then we have the Shiva de Nechemta. Then we have 7 Haftaras of comfort, of Nechama. So the Tzadok says that whenever we see 10, so 10 are Kabbalah lights start flashing, and 10 is obviously the Sfirot. So especially if you see that it's 3 and 7, so the Sfirot are precisely divided, 3 and 7. The 3 is the intellectual Sfirot, is Keter, Chochma, Bina, and then there's 7 Midot. So it's a no-brainer that we see that the first 3 weeks, that these 3 weeks of the destruction of the morning, these are the 3 weeks of the Mochin, of the intellectual Sfirot, of Keter, Chochma, Bina, and then the Shevet and Nechemta, that's bringing down the Sfirot of the Midot, of the comfort. So now this is a crazy idea. First of all, this means what this means is that everything is healing, and this is what. And after these 10, so what's the next one? The next one is Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so starting this week, we are starting to prepare for Rosh Hashanah. We're starting to heal ourselves. We're starting to rebuild ourselves. We're starting to cleanse ourselves from the top to the bottom, from the Keter until the Malchut, and to get ready for Rosh Hashanah. Okay, and in case anybody would like some extra stressor in their life, so this week, this Shabbos, this is the holiest of all. This is the Keter. This is the greatest element, the greatest Sfirah, the Sfirah of Keter. So that's what we're trying to heal this Shabbat. Okay. So now the three weeks of mourning. So the three haftarahs, they start with special words. That the first haftarah this week, it says Divrei Yirmiyahu ben Chakiah, and the second week next week is Shimu Devar Hashem, and then the next week is Chazon Yeshayahu ben Amos. So it starts this week is Divrei, the words of Yirmiyahu. Next week is hear the words of Hashem, and the third week is Chazon, is about sin. So, Dibur, Shmi'ah, Chazon. Speaking, hearing, seeing. Okay? Now, it's actually very appropriate because the last week of Chazon is always in Chodesh Av. And Av is all about sight. And if you listen to our class about Chodesh Tammuz, Tammuz is all about hearing. So you have two elements of hearing, the speaking and the hearing. So that's where we start with Dibur, go to Shmi'ah, and then go to Chazon. So this week is all about Dibur. So why is Dibur connected to Keter? So he explains that the words of Yirmiyahu, these were words of Tochacha, these are words of chastisement, these were words of rebuke, that he was trying to get them on the good path, and obviously we know the end of the story, that it didn't work. So these are words that they tried to help, but they didn't succeed. So he says that this is Keter. Keter is something that it's so bright that it can't penetrate. It's too bright to be able to make it into ourselves. So it seems to we seem to deflect it. These words which are just too high, we're not ready for it yet. So that's what Keter is. Keter is this bright light that's just shooting at us, and that's why these 3 weeks of mourning. So they're actually the greatest light of the entire year. It's just that because it's so bright, so when you look straight into the sun, so you're blinded. So the darkness, the destruction of these 3 weeks of mourning is actually because the light that was shining into us during these 3 weeks is so bright that we just don't have the vessels to contain it. So this is the idea of Keter. This is the dibur that doesn't have the vessel, and that's why it says in the Haftarah that Kodesh Yisrael Hashem Reshit V'Ota. At the end of the Haftarah, it says that the Jewish people are holy to Hashem Reshit V'Ota. They are the beginning of His crops, and meaning that the Jewish people, our souls are so connected to the source. Our soul is connected to God's infinite being, and this is what makes us different. The fact that we're connected on this very essential soul level. So this is the Keter. Before anything we think, before anything that we speak, before anything, just our very essence. That's what Keter is. Keter is that the core energy of your existence, before it turns into DNA, before it turns into any kind of description, just the fact that you're connected to the infinite. Okay, that is our existence of Keter, and this is what we're connecting to this Shabbat. Okay, that we have this thing inside of us that it doesn't matter if it's too great to be explained. It's too great to be put into words. It's too great to be quantified, to be qualified. That it's simply something so big that there is no way to describe it. Okay, that is the Nakuda of Keter that we all have, that we're being called upon this week to really identify with, to really tap into. And that is the Divrei divrei Yirmiyahu, that these words that they didn't have, they were too great to be really internalized. So to tap into that place that yes, I can connect with that even without hearing your words. I can just connect with you, and I get what you're saying without hearing anything. Okay, that is refining our nikudat haketer, and this is how we're going to bring the tikkun. So B'ezrat Hashem, we should really be able to really connect to the deepest part of ourselves, the deepest part of our being, and this is what's going to bring the Geula, B'ezrat Hashem. We tap into, and that is the divrei Yirmiyahu, that these words that they didn't have, they were too great to be really internalized. So to tap into that place that yes, I can connect with that even without hearing your words. I can just connect with you, and I get what you're saying without hearing anything. Okay, that is refining our nikudat haketer, and this is how we're going to bring the tikkun. So B'ezrat Hashem, we should really be able to really connect to the deepest part of ourselves, the deepest part of our being, and this is what's going to bring the Geula, B'ezrat Hashem.